Micah Parsons' watch remains in effect. The looming questions are many. Will he or won't he play? Will he or won't he be cleared by a doctor from whom he is seeking a second opinion? And maybe most significantly, is it possible he gets traded? You have been making calls like crazy, Graziano. What are we hearing right now?
We don't know how it will resolve itself, but I feel like a resolution could be coming soon. The tone of all of this has sort of changed in terms of talking to sources the last couple of days in terms of, what might happen and when. I think, there are still all the possibilities you talk about. He could show up and play on his current contract. He could get a new contract. He could sit out, with the back issue, and he could get traded. I think those are all on the table. So everybody wants to know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows that right now. But I do think a trade is a stronger possibility than I would have given it credit for, say, a week ago when Dallas was telling everybody, no, he's a Cowboy, no, he's a Cowboy. Sounds like they're at least having some conversations that could lead that way.
Right. And so people will jump to what are the usual suspects? What should the expectations be? We'll wait and see if it does get to that. The idea of him signing a new deal or getting the new contract that he wants would involve the agent getting involved. To our knowledge, that still has not happened, right?
Look, no, correct. I don't think there's been any change in terms of Dallas's negotiation with Micah Parsons. That sounds like it's still at a standstill. Now, if you hypothetically talk about a trade, you would probably have a situation where Dallas would have to give Micah and his agent permission to talk to the other team, make sure they had a deal in place before they consummated a trade. So we haven't heard that either. It's possible that that's happening, but we haven't been told that. So that's the kind of thing. If you start to hear things like that, then you'll know it's moving forward.
So we're at that level now. And as Mike Tannenbaum pointed out to us earlier, the league, whether by accident or design, built in sort of a little mini bye week here for all this business to get conducted by going from 4 to 3 preseason games. All these teams have this additional time. Now, ironically, the Cowboys are not one of them because they play on Thursday, and we have a picture of Micah Parsons leaving town. The expectation is that he was or is seeking a second opinion on his injured back, and there he is, people taking pictures of him at DFW, heading somewhere to talk to someone and do something. That's about as specific as I can be at this juncture. What do you think, Dominique?
So I think what first comes to mind is like the rest of the players on the team, and like not necessarily that this is a distraction, but it is a type of player that's so important and so valuable that it changes the direction, the trajectory of what your franchise is doing. And so this is odd, unusual to have anything involving a player of that stature feel like it's in such limbo. This is as close as you can get to having some sort of quarterback drama without it being a quarterback. This changes whether you think you're going to be competitive for a championship in the next couple of years or not, which I assume that everyone in that building right now is thinking like, yeah, we're trying to make a run. Maybe other people don't think that, but they believe that they're trying to make a run in the next couple of years. If Micah goes away, depending on what you get back and anybody else like growing or getting better, he goes away, that really reduces that opportunity for that team.
Well, so here's the thing, though, right? You can get all the draft picks you want. It's not a guarantee that you're going to hit on those draft picks. Correct. What we do know is guaranteed is Micah Parsons going out there being a game wrecker, being someone that the opposing team offensive coordinator has to game plan for. We do know that. That's the only downside to this, in my opinion, and also from a cap standpoint, not having, so much of your roster front loaded. But at the same time, it's not a guarantee that whatever you receive back is going to be a home run hitter.
It's almost a guarantee that it's not.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
Even successful first-round picks don't all rise to the level that he already has. At age 26, if they do make a trade, the haul coming back is going to have to be massive in terms of picks and probably at least one player that can help right away.
The comparison people will immediately make with that is Herschel Walker. Everyone talks about the Herschel Walker trade that Jimmy Johnson famously orchestrated multiple generations ago, and it led to 3 Super Bowl championships in 4 years, the last time the Cowboys were anywhere close to that. Dan Orlovski, good enough to jump in with us here again on short notice, as again, I hope you can sense the urgency in the conversation. This feels as though it is ticking towards a resolution here sooner rather than later. And so, Danny, good enough to jump in front of a camera for us for a minute. Dan, thank you very much. As you hear this conversation, and again, if you missed the beginning of it, Dan Graziano saying it feels as though this is working toward a resolution and all the possibilities remain on the table. The unlikely one that he does get a new deal, the slightly more likely one, I guess, that he plays on his current deal, and suddenly a real possibility that he could be traded. What's your reaction to all of it, Dan?
Well, one, we're either getting played, or two, there's fire where there's smoke. And I live in the fire where there's smoke world right now. And the question that comes to my mind is this Cowboys driven or other teams driven? Is this the Cowboys getting to a point where, and I don't know if you guys heard and saw Jane Slater on Pat McAfee's show yesterday, and she made the comment, and I don't want to put words in her mouth or whatnot, but she made the comment that while Mike is not somebody that gets in trouble like off the field, he's a nuisance in the locker room part to him. And so is this the Cowboys just getting to a point with the person and the contract demand and the player where they're going, we are going to move him? Or is this coming from other teams and they've received calls and maybe had offers or at least preliminary talks of, wait, we can get 3 first-round picks and a starting player at a different position if we actually do this? And that's what the most interesting part of it to me is, if it's very real.
It's got to be pointed out that Dallas's first choice was to sign him. That Jerry Jones is not kidding when he says he wanted to sign him back in March and felt like he made a really strong offer and felt like they had a deal. So you get to a point now where it's like, if you're convinced he's not going to play for you, right? Or if you're convinced you've just gotten to the point where, hey, this isn't worth dragging this out anymore, maybe we should take some of these teams' calls. That may be where they've landed.
I think any of us who've been around this league for a while have heard like the nuisance in the locker room things before, which it feels like maybe it's true. But the Dallas Cowboys are moving on from somebody because they are a nuisance? Like, that to me seems like that is like spin after they do something. It's like, oh, but we didn't really love him anyway. Come on.
Cowboys. This is a man who did a top 10 quarterbacks list on his podcast, did not include his own quarterback, and no one said or did anything about it. The idea that just now they woke up this morning and said, you know what, maybe this guy isn't worth the trouble, after Jerry Jones himself acknowledges, I negotiated a new deal with him and the agent told me to stick it you know where. I mean, the bottom line of it is this. If they trade him, they can say whatever they want. The actions demonstrate this was not what they wanted to do, that they found themselves in this place, at least in part, because of the ego of their owner, a person whom I have generally supported over the many years, have found to be a fascinating person, and I've had great respect for. If they wind up trading him at this point, it will be one of the most embarrassing little episodes in recent NFL memory, because it will literally, there is no way to explain it other than the emotional hurt feelings, the petulance, if you will, of the people directly involved. There is no other way, because they have tried to make a deal with him too many times.
Well, think about the real raw emotions that the fans of not only the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Mavericks would have gone through. With the Luka trade and now Micah Parsons.
That's a good point. We've traded.
Oh, my goodness.
We have Luka Doncic and Micah Parsons in the same city, and they could both get traded in like a 6-month span. It's pretty remarkable if you think about it. Orlovski, get back in here.
Yeah, but just imagine Micah Parsons chasing down Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game, or having to chase down Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship game, or Josh Allen. That's if I was those teams, if I'm the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens, and you are at least publicly hearing that this may be getting closer to a reality, you're just in meeting rooms on the phone going, how do we make this happen? And I know that there's been a lot of rumors attaching him to the Green Bay Packers. If you're the Detroit Lions, can you not get into this conversation? Are you not entertaining be a part of that? I would not be surprised if it's the Philadelphia Eagles. I would not be surprised if it's the Washington Commanders. So again, living in this world where there's some reality to this, there's 6 or 7 teams that legitimately, every team matters, no question when it comes to this, but 6 or 7 teams that you would be sitting there having the conversation. And let's go back, Greeny. I remember doing this show, I want to say 6 months ago, and we all to a person said, it's basically impossible for them to have paid Dak what they paid him and the cap hit that he has, have paid CeeDee Lamb what they paid him, and to give Micah Parsons the amount of money that he's going to command. And so the Cowboys, whether we like it or not, and whether we think the X of the player or not, there is a financial part of this that they say, can they really allocate that much money to those 3 players and think they can even have somewhat of a competitive football team when you compare it to the Eagles?
Yeah, I think they were ready to do a contract, so they know they could fit him under the cap. I think your point is, then what else do they have? They have to patch it together with young guys. I think I can say with some degree of confidence that it will not be the Eagles or the Commanders.
You're right.
Yeah. That it will not be a team that they have to play against twice a year. But yeah, I do start to wonder as this goes on if other teams would try to get involved and maybe drag this out a little bit more. And that may be why it feels like we're getting toward a conclusion.
I love the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
To have him as an edge rusher trying to chase down Patrick Mahomes, the team and the guy that has been a dark cloud over your organization 4 times in the playoff setting. Like if you're Sean McDermott in that front office, you have to go for the gusto.
But I think, Nick, you said earlier, there isn't a team in the NFL that wouldn't bend over backwards, wouldn't move heaven and earth, wouldn't do anything they could.
Super Bowl
I understand that, but my point is,
piece that gets you there, right?
But take any team that feels as though they're reasonably close. Yeah. Micah Parsons is that piece.
What's the most important position? Quarterback. After that, we tend to think tackle or end. Do you want a future Hall of Famer at that position? Hell yeah. Who's young is going to get, absolutely everyone is looking at that very seriously. And the Cowboys, I think we talk a lot about Jerry Jones' ego. He also cares about the way that he's perceived. We saw that multiple times in that documentary. I don't know how he comes out of this not being perceived as losing this situation, right? Because if Micah leaves, that's not success. If Micah doesn't play, that's not success. The funny thing is, swallowing his pride and paying Micah what we think he deserves is the only way that I think we come out of this saying, wow, Jerry Jones really did a nice job there.
But then, Dom, he's going to lose the business deal. That's the thing. Then he loses the business part.